Hello everyone, my name is The Ultimate Spy, and welcome to another episode of Reviewed number 164. And today, I'm going to be reviewing the movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 2014. So what did I think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 2014? I didn't think it was that bad, honestly, and I'm reviewing it because I liked the movie, you know? Some people thought they were horrible, and I didn't think that was true at all. I actually saw it in theaters the first month it came out. I don't know if it was the same day it came out. I think it might have been, though. But I enjoyed it. I didn't have an issue with the CGI modeling of Turtles. I mean, it was obviously motion capture, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, I remember seeing the original trilogy of TMNT movies back in the day, and I don't know, I mean, those were pretty good, but the way they did in this movie, people were complaining about how the turtles have lips now. It's like, well, they do want to make them more realistic, and I didn't really mind them. It's like, people also complain about the turtles looking like babies. They don't look like babies, they look like turtles. They're just more, the graphics are a bit more improved now, and it's not like puppets or whatever back then. And back then it was a little creepy. I don't know. I mean, what's more disturbing, these ones or the ones in the 90s? I mean, I didn't even think that these ones were that bad at all. I actually like them, you know, and especially comparing the originals to the new ones, they're unique and they're different in their own way. Like, you have Michelangelo, who is the goofy one, who's always, you know, flirty with April O'Neil. And then you have Donatello, who is the really smart one, who knows like all the numbers and everything like that. He's like a scientist almost. He's like he actually has like glasses and everything and high tech stuff. He's different in that way. And then you have Leonardo and Raphael. And Leonardo and Raphael are similar, although I think Leonardo is the one who has, you know, his mask is a bit different. It's like it covers his whole entire head, which is interesting. But each character in that quad, I guess, they have their unique style, their unique personality, and that's what makes them interesting. In the originals, it wasn't so much that. It wasn't at all like that. They were literally the same design except for the masks. That's it. And this one, they changed it to make them have their own unique personality, have their own set of skills, have their design is unique in their own way, and that's what made this movie more interesting than the originals. I didn't mind the originals at all. I didn't think the originals were that bad, but this one, it improved a lot about the character of the Turtles, and I definitely felt like it was better in that aspect. And I don't know, I just felt like it was cooler. I don't know, I didn't mind the CGI and the motion capture because it wasn't horrible. I mean, especially since the originals involved puppetry and all that stuff in the Jim Henson Company, I think it was, and a lot of the times the originals were a little creepy, but these ones weren't even that bad. I didn't mind them. That's just my opinion. But because this is a comic book originally, because, you know, the TMNT originated as a comic book, I like the fact that with this one, the movie starts with like a comic panel, like it kind of goes into it. That was a really cool idea, the fact that they did that, and I liked it a lot. That was a really neat effect. Not something I've actually seen in a previous iteration. I haven't seen the original ones in forever, and most of the time, you know, the non-human characters were like, they were puppets usually. I mean, like, even Splinter was puppet. That was how it was, and that was an interesting thing. The other thing about this movie was that Splinter, you never actually see his face fully. Like, you see his face, but it's in darkness. I think they do show his face in the following one, but I haven't seen that one since it came out. Literally, only seen that one once, and I'll be reviewing that next week. And I think that was a bit better. Like, it's the first time I saw it. I haven't seen it in a while, just because I haven't gotten around to seeing it again. Sometimes I've only seen movies once, and I never get around to watching them again. Not that I hate them, I never get around to watching them. But Splinter, you never see his face, and I didn't think Splinter was that bad. I think he was a lot more aggressive. I thought that he had more weapons, which is really cool. Like, I think he was definitely improved. I mean, I'm not like the biggest fan of the TMNT. I never was, but I enjoyed the movies, definitely. I enjoyed the original trilogy. I have enjoyed these movies, despite people saying what they say about them. I have my own opinion. I like them, and that's just what I have to say about it. But one of the things that I liked about this movie a lot was the scoring and the cinematography, or whatever you call it. The scoring, the moment I played the movie, I'm like, oh, this definitely has an Iron Man 3 feel to it, like, in terms of the music, because it is by the same composer, and the cinematography feels the same because it's produced by Michael Bay. And the thing about that is, I was actually kind of surprised that they cast Megan Fox. I mean, I'm not that hater. I think she's a great actress, but I was surprised that they cast her just because of how hard it was for her to work with Michael Bay in Transformers 2. That she left and she got fired from Transformers 2 because of having to work with him, and she hated how he was a terrible director, and he ended up making the Transformers movies worse. Well, some of them aren't as good. I have my own opinions about those, but I was surprised that Megan Fox was even involved in this movie just because of Michael Bay, because the fact he was a producer means he was involved in the movie, and Megan Fox was also involved. But I don't know, like, the fact that he was involved, it didn't make this feel like a Transformers movie. It wasn't, but it felt like that because of the fact that Michael Bay was involved. And that's probably what made me think of that. Megan Fox, I don't mind her. I think she's a great actress. Her role in Transformers, I have my own opinions about that. I personally didn't mind it. But this one, I think she did a pretty good job as April O'Neil. I think she did a really good job. I know she's going to be one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood and in the world in general, and that still remains true today. But it wasn't just her looks that steals her scenes with the movies she's in. It's also her portrayal of the character she plays. And I have noticed that sometimes she's not that bad, honestly. I thought she was fun. I thought she was really good at what she did. And for example, Michelangelo, who's he's the one who's very flirty around her and has a big crush on her, and kind of like wanting to being ladies' man around her. You can kind of tell that she finds it sweet, and that's very interesting. I usually she wouldn't really care, but like she finds it cute. And I like the fact that they did that. And in general, Megan Fox does a fantastic job as April O'Neil. I mean, I remember the original April O'Neil played by a different actress, but Megan Fox has her own way of doing the character, and it's interesting. It's new and fresh, and sometimes that's pretty good. Sometimes that's a pretty good way of doing a character, and I liked it a lot. One scene that had a great little music in the background that was not like the actual score, which is like a song, was a saxophone piece when April was calling Vern, who's the guy who basically trying to make conversation. But there's a saxophone thing that's like in a lot of videos on YouTube. I don't even know what it's from, but I love that song. I love that saxophone piece. I don't even know what it's from, but it's actually featured a lot in a YouTuber called Radzbowski. He does a lot of videos that incorporates that kind of music in it, and I don't know, it kind of like, it's supposed to be like a sexy saxophone, but I think it's supposed to say that's the idea. It's a sexy saxophone. I don't know exactly if that's the actual song, but I've been told that's what it is. And I don't know, I just I'm like, oh yeah, that song, like, it was cool, I like that. And like I said earlier about how Michelangelo has a big crush on April O'Neil is pretty obvious, just like Vern. He's convinced that she's his girlfriend, and it's so funny, like, especially at the end when he plays her that song. It's actually a song featured in the Pokemon Detective Pikachu movie, and it's so sweet. Like, I think that it's really cute the way he's like trying to like flirt with her and like be, she's my girlfriend. Like, not really, she's not. And I just think Michelangelo is the more goofy of the group, because each turtle has their own personality. Each of the turtles is different from one another. But Michelangelo is mainly the ladies' man, the goofy one, the kind of nerd. I mean, at the same time, Donatello is too. He's kind of like the nerd too. But like Michelangelo, he's the one who really kind of goes all over for April. It's kind of silly, and it's cute too. So I like that. I also like the fact that each turtle has like a nickname, like Leo, Donnie, Mikey, and Raph. Like, all four of them have their own little nickname. And it's a cool little thing. I don't even think that was part of the originals. If it was, I can't remember, but that's all I remember. So, and my favorite scene from the movie, it was actually from the trailer back when it first came out, is the elevator scene. I love this scene. It's such a funny scene because it's basically the turtles beatboxing. It starts with Mikey doing a little thing with his nunchucks where he's like MC Mikey. He basically just beatboxes, and then all the turtles, except obviously Donatello, who doesn't really do anything because he's like a nerd, they're all like beatboxing. It's awesome. It's the best scene in the movie because it's so silly and so funny and so just out of place and random, and it's just, I love it. And plus, what the funny thing about that scene was, the sign on the left says notice or warning or whatever. I think it's warning, weapons are prohibited. Basically, it's a warning saying no weapons are allowed. And it's like, they have weapons with them. And it's like, yeah, that's gonna happen. But yeah, overall, it isn't my favorite, obviously, of the of the franchise that they've had. In fact, they're actually going to be rebooting it. I'll get more into that in the next review, which is going to be the sequel to this, Out of the Shadows, which I actually saw in the theater, and it was actually the only one because it was so bad. It wasn't that bad, in my opinion, though. And I just felt like it was... This movie is a lot more impressive because they were able to do more with the technology, like how Star Wars changed in the special editions because they had better technology. Same applies for this movie. They had better technology, and because of that, they were able to make a more impressive version of the Turtles, which I feel like was really good. And they actually have a more impressive backstory, like, you know, they actually have young April New kind of like shows how the Turtles grew up and, you know, how they become what they are, and it's interesting. It's really, really cool, and it just kind of shows them grow up and become the Turtles they are, and that's really cool. I don't even think that was part of the original movie. I think it was, but I don't remember if it was. I don't even know how different it was, but that was one thing I liked about this movie was the extra backstory about how the Turtles were created. They were created in the lab by accident, and they were mutated, and all that's really cool stuff, and it just kind of shows you a different side of the story, if that makes sense. I don't even know how different this version of the story is to the original, but still, I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and it was really cool, and it had an interesting story, you know, about you know, basically making the city of New York go into a crazy state, and, you know, kind of an apocalypse almost, and then having Strax Industries basically cure it. It's kind of like Amazing Spider-Man 1, kind of, not really, but some idea. It had a really interesting story. The only thing I really didn't like about it, and this happens in a lot of movies nowadays, especially superhero movies like this, product placement. I wasn't a fan. It's like, okay, this is weird. They have a lot of product placement. I mean, it's New York, it's obvious, but at the same time, it's just weird, and it's everywhere. It's like big battles going on, and it's like, oh yeah, here's a store, here's a store, here's a store, everywhere. It's like, okay, you know, that's what you did Man of Steel, so I guess it's gonna work the same way in this movie. It isn't horrible. I'm just not a big fan of product placement. It's kind of out of place. You know, it's kind of just like, it's odd. It doesn't really, especially in movies like this, superhero movies, it just doesn't work with the plot of the movie. To have always product placement around just everywhere, big things. They even have a poster on like one of the big billboards, visual billboards. What do you call those things? Of a movie, like a movie just saying whatever that movie is called in theaters, and it's like, seriously. It's just, I don't know, it's weird. I don't really understand why they do that, but at the same time, it's not horrible. It didn't make the movie horrible. It just made the movie weird. It just goes like, oh, okay, interesting, that's weird. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of it, but at the same time, this movie was pretty good, and it was interesting, although I kind of don't know why they called the entire thing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was really weird. But yeah, in general, this movie was great, and I really enjoyed it. Not my favorite, but I definitely did enjoy it, and it had some good characters, funny moments, and definitely a lot of funny moments, and it was good. You know, I liked it. It was a good reintroduction to the Turtles, and they did a pretty okay job with it. So, not the best, because some people have complaints, but I didn't think the Turtles looked that bad in CGI. It was, you know, especially with the technology you can do with nowadays, it wasn't bad. So, I did enjoy it. Anyway, I'm going to leave this movie with a, I think because of the product placement, I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. I don't want to get a full score because the product placement does cut off 2 points, but 8 out of 10 is actually pretty good. That's not a terrible score, so I'll probably have a different score in the next review, Out of the Shadows, but we'll have to wait and see about how that movie turns out, because I've only seen the movie once. But anyway, that's going to do it for this review, and that's all I'm going to say. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Reviewed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. I really do appreciate it. And if you're new to this channel, subscribe for more episodes of this series and of the series that I do, as well as other great content. Also, make sure you click that bell to enable alerts so you don't miss some uploads. And I'll be back next time with another episode. Alright? See ya.